Hey, welcome back to the SBP Podcast Mobile Filmmaking. I'm your host, Susie Botello, and you're listening to episode 173.
We are Fade into Film.
Hey, everybody. We are here back on a roll. We are rolling with 2024. This is the first episode of February. And I've got Ryan McDonald and Levi Austin Morris, Fade into Film duo for today. How you guys doing?
Doing good. Yeah, it's been a good January so far.
Yeah, how's this year gone so far? Well, we've only had 4 weeks.
I mean, you just won more awards, didn't you, Ryan?
Yeah, dude.
I mean, that's a great beginning to the new year, you know?
Well, I wasn't here in the last episode because I was actually in Park City for it's called the Scorpius Film Festival. It started and ended right before Sundance and Slamdance. And
that's a lot of dancing.
They screened my horror short film with Wolfman, which is Ancient Evil's Moonblood, and we won Best Director for a horror film for horror.
That's
short.
amazing.
So,
that's so amazing. Congratulations.
Yeah. Awesome.
Thank you.
How many awards is that now?
For that film,
in 3 months.
That's my first time winning Best Director for that film.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But we've picked up several around.
I think
like special effects.
Okay.
Was like we've had like 5 or 6 of those.
Okay.
And it's kind of played in different parts of the world.
Okay.
So it's been
congratulations. I think I was thinking also of the other one that we haven't been saying the name, but I really enjoy.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Ancient Evil Frankenstein.
Yeah.
So hey guys, guess what? There's basically 80 something days left for the film festival.
Ooh, how are you feeling?
I am amped.
Are you?
Yes. I am oh my God, I got to get this done. I got to get this other thing. I got a list though. I mean, this happens every year. I just make it more exciting. You know, the good thing about having it organized in the way that I do, I almost have a template for it.
Mm-hmm.
Is that it frees up my mind for getting more creative each year.
Sure.
Especially with something new. And we just announced, I don't know if you heard yet, but we just announced the theme for 2024 for the International Mobile Film Festival in San Diego. And it is...
Illuminate.
Do you know what it is? Illuminate.
Yeah, I do know what it is. I saw the announcement. Yeah.
Yes, you're in the announcement, all illuminated.
I'm illuminated.
Yes, the whole group is.
I love that.
So we're going to have some fun with that word between now and April.
Yeah.
And hey, listeners, how you guys doing? I'm wondering if any of you have submitted your films into the film festival, because I sent out an email to all the submitters, whether they were being selected or not. I just sent out an email to everyone earlier this week or Friday last week. I can't remember now. It's been busy. And if you're listening and you're one of those, feel free to give me a shout out, as far as hey, I'm here. I listened to you, because I'd like to know who you are, because I want to collect some names and maybe give you a shout out on the next episode of the podcast.
Yeah, that's cool.
You know? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So anyways, so that's enough for the festival news. I can't give it all away. Can't give all the expectations and secrets away, but it is underway. April 26th through the 28th, you guys pack your bags. Start packing.
It's a little early to be packing, just saying.
What was that?
What's the next deadline?
We're done. No more deadlines.
Oh, okay. That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah, no. I'm just super excited about it. So you can tell where my head's been all day. Levi, what have you been up to?
I mean, I've been doing a couple of things. I've been working on the distribution stuff for Paralysis, which is a big headache because it deals with a lot of legal stuff.
So you're finally there.
Well, I mean, we're still waiting to hear back from 5 film festivals. So come end of March, that's when we'll start more actively either trying to find. I mean, we're in the process of trying to find distribution, but because it's a long process anyway. But we won't be able to distribute until after March anyway. And then I've been working on my next screenplay, which has been both fruitful and frustrating because. I mean, Ryan, I'm sure you understand this. There are moments that you hit writer's block, and I've been stuck on the same issue for a while. So I recently purchased a number of John Waters films because I realized that I've been fighting sort of the genre that this is. This next film is very much kind of queer cinema. And I've been kind of fighting that. So I think I'm trying to embrace that more now and be sort of influenced and inspired by other queer filmmakers, but it's been a frustrating process as well. So yeah, so I'm still 73 pages in, and
only
stuck.
73. Hey, that's still pretty good. I'm just teasing you, Levi.
Yeah,
that is I'm at a point with my screenplay. I got it like 85 pages, and I realized like one of the biggest problems with it is really how it starts out in those first 20 or 30, and I'm debating even finishing the next
this draft,
the rest of it. Yeah, because I'm like, I already know how much I'm going to change, so it's like
you might as well start.
But on one
new.
hand, I was like, on one hand, I had a goal of just finish it and then work on the second draft.
Sure.
Now I'm like, yeah, I already know I'm scrapping like 50% of this, so like, why am I should just like start fresh. But it's the script I've been writing for the last year, so it sucks. It's like I just need to get it done.
I feel that. I've been writing this since last year too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really did want to ask you guys actually about, this little competition we have between the two of you. And you
we have
and
a competition
Brandy,
between the two of us.
I know.
Between the two of you, who's going to finish that screenplay first? You?
Oh, the screenplay first.
Ryan,
My money's on Ryan.
Or Brandy.
My money's on Ryan.
Brandy had one too, right?
Yeah, Brandy's writing one too.
Yeah.
And so she's actually, she's pretty far along the way too as well. So we're trying to race each other to the end, but now I'm realizing that's why I was like, I could just stop now and go back to the beginning of what I know I want to change now. So
so this is listeners. This is why you guys get paid the big bucks. The nightmare of the screenplay.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you guys. I mean, I did want to ask you guys about your screenplays and how far along you were, because I think you guys talked about that in a few episodes ago. And so I just wanted to get a little bit of an update on that. But also I wanted to ask you guys are both actors, filmmakers, but you've both been in this industry quite a number of years. And I just want to hear from both of you. I guess I'll start with Ryan this time. Ryan, how has mobile filmmaking changed your film career, or has it?
That's a good question. I don't necessarily know that the trajectory changed too much, but I started making movies on cell phones. I mean, back when like the iPhone 6 was a newer phone, so it was quite some time ago. It was more. It was right before Tangerine came out. It was. I think even the first thing we shot was on a Samsung Galaxy 1. And it was more kind of like can you was like the idea, because I noticed there was like I can record basically 1080p and record like a just us having fun. Why can't I now just put actors in front of it and go from there? So we had done several test short films, not really test short films, but short films where we purposely used a phone. It was called The Replacement. There's 3 of them. You can find them on the New Ogden Cinema YouTube channel. And so that was, and in my mind, I was always going for the idea that we would make a feature film with an iPhone. And so in that sense, like eventually, I mean, we did make my feature film, and it was micro budget, dirt cheap. And using the phone was helpful. Now, again, I shot with an iPhone 6. So, I mean, it was with the same iPhone 6 that I continued to use, that we had previously used on the other ones. So, I mean, trajectory-wise, I don't know in the same sense, though, but it did certainly put me in a spot where whatever next movie I go to make, We were able to travel the world with that movie. We were in the International Mobile Film Festival as well, with the feature film, and we were able to collect awards and laurels, and I kind of got exposure in a way that I didn't have before without a feature film. So.
And did it help you make more movies? Like, do you think also that because you were filming some of your films with a phone, that it helped you produce more movies, get more experience, and more, filmmaker clout in a way because you've got more films under your belt, so to speak?
Yeah. Well, my whole thought with the feature film Married and Loving was that it would be something where if whatever we do win, it would just be the base jump that we can go for the next one. So when I'm trying to recruit actors, it's easier to say, like, come along with me on this journey, because like it's very possible we're going to win because we've won before. We've done such a great job before. And then, also it's kind of like, if I can take a phone and if I can shoot this with a phone, just imagine what else we can do. Overall. And I mean, I think, Levi, if it wasn't this episode, it was the episode before, it was just the places that you can go with your phone, the nooks and the crannies and the spots that you can fill into. And I've even thought that, like, when you go to shoot in public and you don't have a permit, as we often never do,
right.
If your crew is really low key, you could get away with probably filming in public and not have those issues because nobody's really noticing that you're filming because it's with a phone. Yeah.
There's another thing I wanted to bring up that I keep forgetting to bring up, which is with the Blackmagic camera, you can hold your phone vertically and still record horizontally.
Sure.
Interesting.
So I just think that for guerrilla filmmaking is quite helpful. Yeah.
And then just with the different awards that we were able to collect, and obviously now it's on Amazon, so I just like it certainly helps to the clout again. So when you're trying to convince another actor to again, like, dedicate their time, and even when you're paying them, but still it's their time, right? Like you still
want them to believe in the project.
Yeah.
And
sure.
And you've got your IMDb, and I think you also, I mean, thank God IMDb is not like, oh, it must not be shot with a phone or something like that for it to qualify. Thank God that's not what they use for qualification. But if you made a film and you completed a film, which is what I like about IMDb, is the thing. It's like, well, if you're a filmmaker, you completed a film, you're a filmmaker. It's like, it just kind of goes back and back, You're a filmmaker if you make a film. If you make a film, you're a filmmaker. And that's that. And that's how you qualify. Yeah. And when people go to check you out and they go to your IMDb and they see all your credits there, that also, I'm sure that helps.
Yeah.
Because that's your career. Your career is a filmmaker. Mine's not necessarily that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's not that one thing, basically.
Yeah. Well, with my situation, it's similar to Ryan's in that I started iPhone. I was a theater major in college, and that was sort of my focus. And then I moved out to LA in 2011, planning on moving to film. And I was auditioning for a number of things from when I moved out here in 2011 until about 2014. And I just got sick of waiting for the right parts to come along. I got sick of, asking for permission to perform. So I had an iPhone, and I had just inherited an iPhone. It was the 4S. And I was like, I am sick of waiting around. So I'm just going to start creating my own content, my own films, my own short films. And so in 2014, I made 2 short films and on my iPhone, and that actually inspired a number of my friends to create a production company together. And one of my friends, he had a DSLR, so we stopped filming on iPhones, and we would film on his DSLR for a few years. And then when that sort of fizzled out, I went back to iPhone, and I started, I was already part of a sketch group with some friends, and we started to record our sketches. We had 20 to 30 sketches we did between 2015 and 2019.
I remember watching those, actually.
Yeah, and they were all filmed on our iPhones. And at first they were very, the people I was filming with were very adamant about not filming on our iPhones, not filming with our phones. And I kept telling them, no, you guys, there's great resources. There's these apps, there's these, lenses, there's these tools that we can use to improve the quality. And I think by 2016 or 17, I think I had sort of converted them. And they ended up being, part of my team for once I realized I don't want to do sketch comedy, I want to go back to film because that's where my love is. That's where my heart is. Yeah. I started to write short films again. And I would direct them and shoot them on my iPhone. And the people that I was doing sketch comedy with ended up becoming part of that production company. And yeah, I mean, I think we just would we did, I think 8 short films between 2014 and 2019. And then finally it was let's do a feature. And that was during COVID that I started to write that. And yeah, so we shot that during. And so trajectory wise, I think what it did more than anything is it made all of my ideas possible. It was that I had ideas, I wanted to shoot the film, and it was never I never saw it as a hindrance, even though back in 2014, people were still very nose in the air about shooting anything on an iPhone. But for myself, I was like, this is a tool and I get to tell the stories I want to tell, Yeah. So yeah, I think it was always just a tool that allowed me to express myself. And it's been a massive growing experience, and there's been massive growth even in the technology. But I definitely feel like I am a better filmmaker because I had access to the iPhone, because I could play with ideas. I could explore things that if I didn't have the iPhone, I couldn't afford a DSLR. So it gave me the opportunity to play and discover things in shooting, in editing, in lighting, and all of those things. Yeah. So.
And it sounds like it also, what it does for someone who's, on the way to making films is that it builds your confidence, because you're experiencing and doing it over and over again, and you're trying new things, and you're fixing things and altering things, and you're completing things. You're completing actual productions from beginning to end.
Yeah, and I mean that all happens organically. You're not really aware of that as it's happening.
No,
you're just doing it. Yeah, you're just very but then you like right now, if I go back and watch my first short film or first 3 short films, I sit quietly and go, ooh, this is uncomfortable. But I also recognize that had to happen for me to get where I am now, So yeah, I feel like it gave me the opportunity to make mistakes. It gave me opportunity to figure things out. I mean, we still made mistakes. We still made mistakes on the T. We still made mistakes on paralysis. But it helped me know for next time. With the T, a lot of that's the short film that you talk about a lot, Susie. There's a lot of shots where we cut back to Allison's character. And I, unfortunately, did not actually record that much of Allison's reactions to things. So a lot of those shots were things as we were setting up. Allison was already getting into character. And I was like, well, crap, I didn't record enough of Allison reacting to things, so I'm just going to have to use these shots of her getting into character, sort of reacting to things. So some of them were specifically storyboarded, but that was something that I learned after the fact. When I was in editing, I was like, oh crap, I did not shoot enough coverage of Allison. And so we did not make that mistake in paralysis.
That's one of the mistakes that I think it's easy to forget is the reaction shots. Especially when shooting the dialogue scenes.
Yeah. Yep.
Because
we were only shooting dialogue.
Yeah, the very typical thing is oh, you say this line, it's all you. The next person says that line, it's all them, and you go back and forth like that. And that's not, if you watch enough movies, that's not how that works.
Yeah, I mean, you need to see how people are responding, and that's why some of my favorite shots in Paralysis are I mean, it's not even shots like, wow, that's really cinematic. It's just shots like, wow, that performance is very good. Is Lisa Gay, the woman who plays the medium. But when Allison's character is talking at the table, Lisa Gay has some beautiful, vulnerable, sensitive reactions to what she's saying. And as I was editing, I was like, oh, I would be a fool for not putting this in there, you know?
It's part of the story.
Yeah. Yeah, it is, because it like the relationships of the characters are developed in the nonverbal, not in the verbal, you know? Like how somebody looks at you is how they feel about you. You know, you can say something to somebody's face and not mean it, but how you look at them reveals how you truly feel, you know?
Yeah, the actors getting together, and you guys know this as actors, it's always good for the actors to meet up, even without the directors or any crew or anything, and just kind of have a little bit of a conversation of like, all right, let's build our backstories as characters, so that, because a lot of times the director doesn't tell you that. Sometimes for some reason they're not experienced enough to tell you that, give you an entire backstory to your character. And they don't realize how important that is for an actor to get into character. It's not just about the screenplay and that's it.
Yeah. I mean, I think with what you're saying, I think for myself, coming from a theater background, rehearsals are so important to me. And we didn't get as much time with paralysis as I would have liked for rehearsals. But like, every scene we did rehearse before we shot it, and we rehearsed multiple times until I felt like we got the rhythm, we got what we were looking for. But like in all of my short films, we rehearsed them all like a play. And the reason we did that is because I want the actors to find the chemistry. I want the actors to find the relationships. I want, you know, we'll talk about your backstory. We'll talk about, and that's not something that is as common in the film industry. Like there are some directors who are known for extensive rehearsal processes, but for a lot of them, it's just show up on the day and let's get to work.
Yeah, and that's kind of not the best way to do it as far as acting is concerned, because you could make your story better. And if you make your story better, you do it. I think characters in acting they're so important to livening up a story, bringing it to life from the screenplays that you guys are writing. I also think the little short experience that I had, you know, because I had worked on films even as a cinematographer for so long, and being a part of a crew, which is so exciting, right? And I was never on a set on the other side as an actor. And so when I had to do that favor for someone and go in and play this part in their little short film, it was very small. It was a very small part, but it gave me a perspective that I didn't have before into understanding what it's like to be an actor.
Yeah.
When you're an actor, you have your lines and all this stuff. You're breaking into character, all this stuff. And meanwhile, Levi, Ryan, you guys are listening to people ruffle around, you know, gear, equipment, this and that, the light, all these things. And you're just trying to keep it together. I have no idea how you do it. And then you have to, you know, let's do that again. And you're trying to remember every little thing. If you don't have a script supervisor on set, it's even worse, right?
Yeah.
So I advise every director, every filmmaker should always have at least one time experienced what it's like getting behind a camera. I mean, getting in front of the camera, of course.
No, I agree. I do. I think that I mean, I don't know. I think I do feel like actors make good. Not all actors. I will say not all actors, because I don't think that all actors. But I think that there is a benefit to having experience acting when you are also a director, because I think that you can not only understand the journey that these actors are taking more. I think you can learn how to communicate better with actors, because I think that there are different techniques that different actors take, and you have to realize the different techniques. Like some people are going to be a little more heady, some people are going to be a little more playful, some people are going to, like in how they approach performing. And so you need to be able to adapt to each actor. And I think with your own acting experience, you'll not only have that experience with other actors, but you'll also figure out what your own experience as a performer is. Like, do I internalize things, or am I just playing, or am I, where's my objective coming from, and how can I communicate? Yeah. I just feel like it helps you with communicating with actors better. Yeah.
I think even I think actors should take the opportunity if it's not a shot that you're in, but then sit with the crew and like watch the mechanics of what's going on, because I feel like at times where I've acted for other people, I might not bring the better performance, though tooting my own horn, we have won a couple of best acting awards in short films that I was in, but
toot that horn, man.
But
Toot it.
But because I've directed so much as well, like as an actor, I know like once we put our mark, I need to stay put.
Yeah.
I can't move, because then the focus is out. I know how that, because I've edited so much, I know like what I should be doing before we say action, what I should do when I leave the frame, or kind of like where I should start.
Yeah.
Where did you put that thing down so that I can pick it up when I have to do it again, and where did I place it and all that stuff? Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think it helps, and because there's been times where I've worked with actors who are great actors and they're great people, and I would absolutely love to work with them again. But there's moments where I kind of have to be like, hey, once we set that focus, you need to sit your ass down.
Yeah.
You need to stop moving, because every time you step away, I have to reset the focus.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
yep.
So it's like, once you're there, you got to stay there. Or sometimes trying to explain some of the mechanics of different things, of the reason why we're about to do something. Like there's an interview with Liam Neeson where he's talking about how his first day on Schindler's List, and how Steven Spielberg, there's a shot of him that's kind of like him holding a cigarette and it's burning while he's in this like nightclub, and he was really frustrated with Steven Spielberg because he was like, I would never hold my cigarette like this close to my face, and it just doesn't make sense and things like that. And so he actually almost quit the film. He was getting kind of irritated
over a cigarette.
Yeah. And then he's like sees the shot, and he's like, now I get it now, like why this was. And I know Christopher Nolan talks about like, I was just better just to tell actors like, hey, the lighting next to the window is a lot better, so if you can just move over there. And so sometimes when I'm directing an actor, I'll even be honest with you, I was like, I don't have a motivation for why you're about to do what you're going to do.
Yeah.
But I do know that blocking wise, I need you to walk over there.
And the thing with that, and the thing that I have experienced that's frustrating with some actors is we can figure out your motivation together. That's fine. But like, me coming from a theater background, it is my job as an actor to find the motivation for myself. I should not have to rely on a director to find that motivation. And I have had actors like, well, I don't understand why I'm doing this. And it's like, because technically it works better for what we're doing right now. So you need to find the motivation in this moment. Because I don't have the time to sit here and discuss it with you, like
yeah. Like, the gun just has to be in your other hand.
Yeah.
Why? Because it looks cool.
Yeah.
So just pull it out.
Because with the lighting and with the camera setup and everything. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But that's also probably a little bit comes from them not understanding their character enough. Because quite honestly, it's like, well, this isn't part of like this is not defining your character or the story itself per se, but we still want you to do that because it works better because of the lighting and the angle and stuff like that. We just want you to do that. Just humor me.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely goes back to what I was saying about how I think each actor approaches things differently. And I think that I've worked with some very heady actors who really need with the director to guide them, to help them understand the journey of their character from beginning to end. And then I've worked with actors who are like Allison, who is like, let's just play. And as we're playing, we'll discover things, and we'll figure out what's working, and we'll figure out what's not, And I don't have a preference.
She's such a good actor, too.
She's so fantastic, yeah. And I don't have a preference, but I oftentimes can be a heady actor myself. But, I think there's a time there's a time for that conversation. There's a time for the conversation of, I'm not understanding this. Let's have this conversation. It's not when we're on set shooting, you know,
That's
like
what I
it's
was
like
just gonna
it's
say,
during the rehearsal process before we get to set, you know, like
Yeah.
yeah. If you don't know by the time we get on set, then you haven't done your job.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, I'm like, is that the first time you met the director on set, right?
Not my films. They meet
No,
me early.
That's the whole point. Yeah,
Well,
could you imagine though? You haven't even the director hasn't even met you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You come
Yeah.
on set on the first day. You're like, "Where's the director?" Oh, it's
That's
that
actually how
person
the
over
guy who he's in my latest Franken Rooster runs with Doc film also on New York Sims YouTube channel. But like the guy who plays, so I played Detective Chaz, but the guy who's like the other detective, I hadn't met him before. I met him that night that he showed up.
Oh, wow.
So
but he was directing.
No.
I
He
was
was
directing
directing.
him.
Ryan was directing.
But
Oh.
I'd spoke with him over like IM.
Yeah.
But I was introduced to him by the special effects makeup artist for the film. The person who built the monster, his name's Sean Gordon. But I had not met the actor until he showed up in person. And so, but of course we're doing a short, and there was a lot of moments where it was kind of like, you know, I apologize, like this isn't the meatiest role. There's not really like a big in-depth thing here. You don't have a whole lot of dialogue. You're mostly kind of standing behind me, but you know, there's a gag in it. Yeah. And I was like, you're the best gag of the whole thing.
Pun intended.
So so it has to be done. Yeah. With my feature Married and Loving It, there was a lot of intention to have rehearsals ahead of time. And I had, so that people would know each other, so that there would be kind of a feeling like the kids are supposed to be married and supposed to be married for 10 years. So there should be a feeling of like familiarity with the area. Yeah. The same way with like when I'm acting, I like to wear, like if I'm wearing a jacket, I like to wear the jacket. I like to figure out like, where is this item supposed to be that I'm pulling out of my pocket, like which pocket, and why would I put it in that pocket? And not why because like, oh, my mother taught me like this, but just why, because it makes sense for how I collect my things. But in the opening scene, the two actors in the opening scene, because I told them it was going to be 17 pages, and I wanted to try to do as like the illusion of a one take shot by having it be like 4 long takes that we would cut together, so they knew that they were doing 17 pages, and the two actors knew each other. They'd already worked in a play together. And so that part, there's a reason why it was those two.
It also helps that you hired actors who'd been in plays, because I think people who have been in plays are not intimidated by memorizing 17 pages, whereas I think film actors are terrified by that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And so the actor, Mike Solaris, longtime friend and actor, I've worked with him on several other projects, but he'd just done a play where he had the first, I think, 20 minutes of the play was, once he's on stage for the next 20 minutes. And a lot of it's just him. So I was like, well, if he can do that, then he could probably do 17 pages of dialogue. For sure. And so I spoke with him about that, and then as we were about to go shoot it, we met one more time, and I was actually nervous. I actually thought maybe I should just. I was like they don't have this like memorized. I hadn't even seen him do it yet. And him and I went out for a beer, and he's like, "So you're still thinking of like doing it one take, right?" And I was like, "Well, you know, I don't know if you know if you guys aren't ready." He's like, "Oh no, that's what we've been practicing."
Good.
I was like, "Oh, awesome."
That's
so
fantastic.
They had rehearsed. They had rehearsed, but some of the other actors, to their credit, I was rewriting some of the dialogue the week before we shot it over the weekend, so they didn't really have a chance to. And the only time they'd met each other was in auditions. We did a couple of rounds of auditions, and I want to see how people paired together.
Chemistry reads.
So there was more kind of like, hey, we haven't done this yet, but we're about to. So read this over, and then the backstory, of course, for the story is things that I experienced. So like, even though I said like explore your own backstory, I was also like, hey, when this fight really did happen, I actually did do this moment. So that's what. And so I had the backstory already, but
So what we're doing here is giving our listeners who are aspiring filmmakers a few ideas on where actors are coming from. How you should treat them, and how to get the best performance. Because quite honestly, if you're going to get, once you've chosen your actors, you do count on them. If the one thing about your actors, it's this is very, very obvious. You can't just let them go in the middle of a film.
Yeah.
You can't just get rid of them, if you don't like them. If you're going to do that, you're going to have to start over.
Yeah, and that's stressful. I mean, I haven't
Yes.
done that, but I haven't fired anybody, but...
Well, sometimes people quit. Sometimes it's
Sure.
not like you're completely clueless that some actor is having a hard time with you.
Yeah.
Or with someone else, and they leave. They just say, that's it, I'm quitting. I mean, unless you're working on a feature film and you have a good rapport with the actor and you have a contract and all those things in place, and you should do these things for short films, but let's be honest, not many people do.
And I would say one of the things that I think is beneficial is at least... because every actor, again, does approach things differently. Communicate with your actors. Ask the actors what kind of things they need, and see if, I Allison, for instance, is an actor that she doesn't need as much positive reinforcement. Like she obviously appreciates that. Like, hey, this is a good shot. But like one thing that she knew about me is if we did a shot and then I said, okay, reset, let's do it again, and then I'd give her an adjustment. If we finished a shot and it was what I needed, sometimes I'd say great, but sometimes I'd say, okay, let's move on. And she talked to me about it afterwards, and she was like, sometimes I wasn't sure if I was giving you what you needed. And so I learned that Allison needed a little more, like, that was good. You did good on that shot. Let's move on, as opposed to just like skipping over and saying, let's move on, so it's like,
oh my God. Yeah. I think every actor needs that.
Communicating with your actors,
Yes.
to their needs, and making sure that so that they feel confident about what they're doing,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think most times they do that. Directors are pretty good about telling their actors, all right, that was good. But like you said, I mean, like
sometimes you don't have time though. Sometimes you're just like, let's move on.
Sometimes you're the actor and the
have time to cater
director
to your
and the
feelings. We gotta
half
move on.
cinematographer, though, Levi. Sometimes you're the actor, the taking on to cinematography plus
Yeah.
directing.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I think that
I wore too many
obscure
hats
a
in
little
paralysis.
bit. Yes.
So yeah, yeah,
But
and I won't
most-
do, and I do know I won't do that again, just because spreading
Yeah.
myself that thin made it very difficult to do everything at the capacity I would have liked to.
Because it was also a feature-length film. But this
Yeah.
is a great segue. So some of you guys listening are actors as well. Maybe you're interested in keeping things going. Like, what we were just talking about, IMDb, right? And so keeping you in the acting industry. Actors are advised, don't go dormant too long because people will forget about you, even if you're super famous. And if you do great, hop on that momentum and get rolling on another film right away. One way of doing that is to make short films.
Mm-hmm.
They allow them on IMDb, guys. So you're getting more acting credit. And you can also pull off a directing credit too, by making your own films and shooting them with your phone. And while you're, between jobs, acting jobs and things like that, you can always do that. Just hop on a weekend with some friends.
I mean,
and
that's
make a
when we were
movie.
doing our sketches. We would, like one of the people in our sketch was pretty successful, and he's still pretty successful. But if there was downtime, we'd come together and we'd start shooting sketches.
Nice.
And it's a way to keep yourself active. It's a way to keep warm. It's a way to keep creative. It's a way to keep your mind on the artistic thing that you are, constantly pursuing. And I will say it is 1,000% made me a better filmmaker. I know I'm a much stronger filmmaker because I did 30 to 60 sketches in a number of years, as well as short films, And taking improv classes, like there's different things actors can do to keep themselves warm. But I think one of them is just trial by fire and just doing it,
Yeah, and I think we were talking about that in that one episode about marketing yourself. And I think this is part of it. Just making short films as an actor is one way to keep it gives you content that you can promote yourself in.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you can help a few other colleagues with it,
For sure.
who are also actors who want to stay involved and might really enjoy working with you. And all these things, this is an industry that's so heavily based on networking and who you know and all that stuff that I'm sure it can only be helpful. Have you guys ever walked onto a set and then gone, oh my God, I know you. We worked on this other film together with someone else,
My editor has said that he'll meet people that he's like, but people aren't aware that they worked on the same movie together, but he is because he edited the film, and so
that's fun.
Yeah, so he's like, I've seen like hours of this person, but they've never actually met them. And they didn't know who I was in comparison to the movie. That was my editor, Lucas Hardy, for Married and Loving It.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's been plenty of times of, of course you want to network. I mean, I think it's not just to stay relevant though. Wouldn't be I think you're an actor, you're looking for work, and if you're not able to find it, then you should then certainly create it.
You just want to keep your name out there too.
Yes.
Because
well, I think
that honestly doesn't cross my mind when I'm doing it. For me, I have an innate need to be creative and to be creating. And so for myself, it's never about I need to keep my name out there. It's like I need to tell this story now, Yeah.
But you're special. Yeah. You're awesome.
but if you look at like Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, they've come up recently. Well, I mean, not that they were lost, but like
I'm like, what? Where did they go?
I know, but a lot of interviews of them together, sitting together, talking about like Good Will Hunting has come up because they made Air last year. They wrote it together, and
that was a good movie.
And when they speak about Good Will Hunting, it was something similar. They were both actors. They were trying, and I remember like seeing Ben Affleck before Good Will Hunting and other things, Mallrats and some HBO stuff. And so like, but they were talking about how like they were trying to get these other gigs and they weren't working. Yeah. So then the idea of writing something to put themselves in was like the next thing.
Yeah.
And so, as I mentioned a moment ago, like it's only going to help you as an actor because then you're going to start learning how the filmmaking process works. So now you know how to do. You're going to have to do both. Yeah. You know that you need to be how to get into your emotions and what your motivations are for the character and things like that. But also be aware that this is a very technical process, and your ability to also be a team player and the technicality of it helps us all too, and speeds us along as we go, so we can get both the emotions and the range of the acting, but also like we don't have to keep coming back because like, dude, you keep going out of focus. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
Like the line's great, your anger's great, but you keep stepping forward. And I need you to stay back.
Yeah.
Like, so
that's funny.
So that's why I agree with you, Levi. It's not necessarily relevancy; it's more just an inherent need to kind of create an act. But if you're not getting a gig, then write one.
Yeah,
for yourself.
Yep.
What would you say, Levi, is a percentage of actors that are also artists?
I mean, I think most actors that I know are also artists, but I will say not all of them have the drive or the
passion.
It's not even that. Like, I have a very close. Yeah, I don't know. I think there are some actors who think that there is a certain road and a certain route to success, and so they don't really step away from what they think they should do, and so I know plenty of actors who don't write at all, and it shocks me. And I work with quite a few of them. You know, they've worked on Paralysis. They've worked on the first feature I ever did that I don't talk about, and I like, for some of them, they found sort of like their creative drive through the first feature we did together. But for some of them, it's just not something they want to do. They don't want to create their own work. They want other people to do it, you know? And so I think, you know, there's going to be actors in both lanes, but I will say, like, of my friends in LA, it's probably like 50 to 60% of them are also writers, directors, creators, you know, where they're either creating their own content or helping others create their own content. Like the hag in our film is also a producer. She didn't produce our film, but she's a producer for other people. She's also a theater actor. She's also, you know, she's a number of things. So there's like there's different avenues that I think you can take creatively in the filmmaking world. I know a lot of actors who are like set designers or art directors or whatever. You know, most of the people who worked on Paralysis were also in it in some way or helped in other ways. Like the next script that I'm writing, most of the people who are, because that's an ensemble cast, the next one's a big cast, and they're mostly the crew from Paralysis, which is great because they're also actors, but it's also stressful because I'm like, well, damn it, now I got to find a crew, you know, like, so yeah.
Well, there's a little dilemma.
I mean, thank God we're quite a ways away, and I plan on having a bigger budget and a bigger team. But
let's see also who we meet at the film festival.
Yeah. Just start recruiting people.
That is actually pretty interesting. Yeah, in my world, I really believe everybody has some sort of artistic something inside of them. I just think
artistic voice,
something, and I think, and the reason why I was asking that is because, people who have, who are known, who are aware, conscious, right, of their art, that they are artists in some way or another. They understand that they feel that need to create.
Yeah.
And it's a little different than people who don't have that need, or is their voice is not as loud, if we're going to go that route.
Sure.
So I just thought that was really interesting. Hey, I know this is going to sound really, really random, but do you think that the iPhone 16 guys should have 2 USB-C ports instead of just one?
Right.
Great. I mean, it's for
the
purpose of being able to export and charge at the same time.
Well, because if you're going to record with log capture and ProRes and everything, they suggest that you obviously that you can plug in your USB-C drive to record in, hard drive.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Yeah, and that's one USB-C connector. All I know is that once you start connecting too many things to too many things to too many things, you start degrading the the quality. And so I'm just wondering, why wouldn't, if the USB-C port fits on an iPhone, then why not put 2?
Because they if I'm speaking candidly and honestly, and I do love Apple because I own, iPhone and a Mac and everything. But my biggest issue with Apple, and the reason that I get very angry with them, is because they are in the business of making money and they don't care about efficiency in some regards. In some regards, they just want us to buy more equipment so that they can continue to make money.
Because I think if they had 2 USB-C ports, though, it would be so much better for filmmaking. Because then you could plug in your drive, and then you could plug in, charge at the same time, and do the audio and things like that if you wanted to. Headphones, all these things.
But they'd rather you buy an extender or like something to attach to your phone so that you can do those things. Like they want you to spend the money on more of their equipment. But you're not. You're using Belkin or whatever other brand most people are, and I think it's just draining. I'm just saying. Yeah. No, I mean, I agree with you. I just get annoyed with how. Hey, Apple, maybe Sony or Samsung will do it.
Well, probably because they're probably because their number one focus for selling their brand, for selling the product, isn't for filmmakers.
100%. Yeah.
So I mean, why redesign the entire phone? They do it every year anyway. Well, yeah, I know, but why specifically? Well, they do. I mean, why not? I mean, they're doing so much for filmmakers as it is on their cameras already. They're putting the investment there. They're kind of leaving the challenge of kind of leaving the challenge of like, hey, you're gonna have to figure out the battery part as you go, because the wide majority of the people who are buying this,
two Apple reps turning me down. Like, no, Susie, we don't want to do that because.
No, I agree with you.
I think it'd be cool if they did.
Yeah, and I agree with you. It's just I don't think that I think they prefer to make money, and so I don't think that. I think that they're still looking at things as a business, and how they can make the most money. I don't think that anything will ever be convenience for them. Like, let's help out the filmmakers. Let's help out the users, you know?
Mm-hmm. Let's help the filmmakers buy our phone that has two USB-C ports instead of buying Samsung, who just decided to listen to this podcast and get this wonderful idea and do it.
I mean, because if they were really doing it, because I guess they could build like the way the lenses, or, you know, like make it so it's so
you can screw on any lenses on there.
Yeah.
Except for the size.
You know, so I mean, you know, are they in business to make money? Sure. I think that's what a business is, right? Are they going to cater to the section of people that that are filmmakers?
All right. So, hey, listeners.
I don't know.
How many of you guys would like to see that happen?
She's like, Levi and Ryan are crapping on my idea.
Just like, I thought this would be a great idea, a great incentive for them to put on, but hey.
We agree with you.
Oh, you do? Okay.
I agree.
We do.
I feel like I'm arguing with
could.
Apple. I brought Apple into my podcast.
That's so funny. I just don't think it's realistic because I think they'd rather make money, but we agree with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think there's a way to convince them to make money by doing just what we want them to do.
I mean, everything else is gravy though. Like it's
true.
You know, the stabilization and like, cause I mean, I have an iPhone 11 and so like 11 Pro still, and so
same.
So, you know, you thought snowing, and I, when we go like sledding, I posted on my Instagram about 2 years ago. Like, I took my phone and I sent one of my daughters down, Sophia, the one who's been on the podcast before. I sent her down the hill, and I was right behind her, laying on my stomach, but on a sled or a disc or whatever it is. Yeah. And I had my phone out, and when I got done and I was looking at the video, I was like, wow, the stabilization on that was really good for the fact that I was going down the mountain, holding it in my hand.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch it on another screen, by the way, too?
No, I've only watched it. I watched it on my phone, and I watched it when I posted on Instagram. So.
Oh, okay.
So I think there's already there's a lot of technology that's put in there.
Yeah.
So I mean, it'd be one more thing to add the USB port. I'm not saying that they're not filmmaker focused. I just don't know how far they're going to go with it. But
well, they don't even have the idea to do it yet, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's true.
And
I mean,
the
but
USB-C
Levi, like you shot with multiple phones, right?
Well,
yeah, we shot with two.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
so we'd swap
just
out.
So, anyways, if any of our listeners would like an extra USB-C port on their iPhones, gosh darn it, tag me and let me know. So, okay, so I think we've pretty much. Is there anything else we've missed?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think we were pretty thorough.
Yeah.
On this episode, and I think I'm so happy that you guys were able to share more about yourselves with everyone. Throw some good vibes out there for Ryan, Brandy, and Levi's screenplay.
Thank you very much. I'm hoping to move forward in that area instead of feeling stuck.
Yeah, especially, you bury yourself in your screenplay, and then you're like,
I definitely do. I do.
Yeah. Do you guys ever find that when you watch a really good movie, you get a little motivated to like, oh my God, I want to make a film now?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
there's some times where it's almost been like it was so good. I was almost like the very first time I saw Dark Knight, I saw it in IMAX opening weekend. When it finished, it kind of made me like, I was jealous, but not in a hateful way, but just in like, oh my God, like, how did you do such a thing? Then I watched Following, also by Christopher Nolan, and that now more on a level of budgeting, and I was like, oh my God, like, how did he do that too? So yeah, I feel I just actually, before we jumped on this podcast, I watched a trailer for an indie horror film that was at Sundance, and I thought to myself, I was like, damn it, they did that really well.
Yeah.
Again, in a jealous in a good way.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's okay to have a healthy amount of envy.
Sure.
Sometimes I'll see a film that one of the people on my team make, and it's like they make a really good gag or something like that, and I'm like, damn it, that was really good. That was really good. Anyways, but it inspires you, kind of like, oh yeah, we gotta do it. I gotta do something similar. Not similar, but just like one.
Yeah, inspired. I mean, honestly,
so,
for me, the movie The Favorite, which came out in 2018, I think, I loved that movie. It's by the guy who directed Poor Things, which came out this year, which, by the way, is my favorite movie of the awards season. I think it's brilliant. But The Favorite is actually the thing that inspired The Tea. So I watched that movie and I loved the humor of these very sort of, high status people, not actually communicating what they want, and the relationships and everything. And so, I used that as a jumping board, and that's where The Tea came from. So, so I'm absolutely inspired by filmmakers and other art, music and things like that. So, yeah.
Well, I think this is a great way to end this episode, because I want to leave you guys hanging with what Levi just said. And guess where you can find that? Come to our film festival in April.
Heck yeah, absolutely. Be inspired by other filmmakers.
Motivated, hook up with some people, make your next films, and have fun. And be a star for a day or two or three. Or the rest of the year.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Say goodbye to our listeners.
Until next time.
Yeah. See you next time.
Bye.